Fellow members, this is to respectfully inform you of Mr. Speaker's absence, unavoidable absence, indeed, and to indicate that the Honorable First Deputy Speaker shall perform the duties and exercise the authority of Mr. Speaker in relation to all proceedings of the House until Mr. Speaker resumes the chair. Thank you. Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Thou members of Parliament, the ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us the vision of our country, fair as it might be, country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, I have received a message from His Excellency the President, addressed to the Speaker of the House, dated 2nd July 2021. Mr. Speaker, absent from Ghana, in accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that in my capacity as the chairperson of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, I will be traveling outside the country on a one-day working visit to Bissau, capital of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, in the morning of Sunday, 4 July 2021, to hold bilateral discussions on mutual and regional interests with His Excellency Umaro Sissoko Embalo, President of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau. I will return to Ghana in the evening of the same day. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. I accept, Mr. Speaker, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, best wishes, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. We shall consider the votes and proceedings for Friday, the 2nd July 2021. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Yes, Honorable Member for New Education.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Page 6, item 4, number 2. I was in the House on Friday, but I've been marked absent.
Very well, the table of office to take note. Page 7. Page 8. Yes, Honorable Member for Kwadaso.
Co-Speaker, page 8, item 7. The official report of the 8th sitting. Sorry?
We are doing the votes and proceedings first.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry?
Honorable Member, yes, continue.
I'm saying page number 8, item number 7. The official report of the 8th sitting. I see 8.
Very well.
Oh, hold
Very
on.
well noted, yes. 8th. The H is missing, yes.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Very well. The table office will take note and make the appropriate corrections. Page 9. Yes, Honorable.
Okay.
Honorable Member for Mion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Page 9, item number 10B, the last line, digitization. The I before the T should be changed to A instead of I. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get you. N, A, or B?
10B, line 3, digitization.
Digitalization.
Yes, digitalization. The I before the T should be changed to A instead of I.
No. Is that correct?
Yes.
Digitalization. Yes.
Digitalization,
Yes.
not T. B, then B.
Your mic off, please. Yes. Digitalization. Very well. Page 10. Honorable, are you on your feet? Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Honourable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of Friday, 2nd July 2021 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. There's no official report ready today. Honorable Leader of the House, are we ready to take item 4, the questions? Item 5, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, the minister is unavoidably absent, but her deputy is here. And with your leave, Mr. Speaker,
Very well. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader. Says the deputy would take the question in the place of the minister.
Madam Speaker, there is no objection. We can hear our colleague, the Deputy Minister. Thank you.
Very
Mr.
well.
Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Minister for Gender and Social Protection. Please come and take your seat. Honorable Deputy Minister, please sit by the Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the answer to the first question, question number 132, that's asked of the Minister for Gender and Children. As of the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection is here, but unfortunately it didn't find expression on this order paper. It's being now printed on addendum order paper. So we could allow the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources to step out to come and respond to the questions. The three questions out there ahead of the Gender and Children.
Yes. Minority Leadership, yes.
Madam Speaker, we can have the Deputy Minister for Gender and Children respond on behalf of the Minister, whilst we wait for the printing of the answer to the question standing in relation to water and sanitation. But Mr. Speaker, if at your leave, the Minister for Sanitation can come back tomorrow morning, the better for all of us. Okay, then we are good to go, Mr. Speaker. We'll hear the Deputy Minister for Gender.
Very well. So
we'll hear the Minister for Sanitation rather, Mr.
Very
Speaker.
well.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
We will call.
Answer to.
In that
correct,
case, I'll call
I'm
question
referring
number
to
92.
Minister for Sanitation and Water, not Gender.
Question number 92. In the name of Ms. Comfordoyo Kujo Ada, for the Minister for Water, Sanitation and Water Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources when the following communities and their environs in Adan constituency will get continuous flow of pipe-borne water. Anyakpo, Sonchopa, Patukope, Alavanyo, Pute, Totope, Midie, Aminapa, Lufenya, Gbanave, Gbatana, Kopehev, Kakite Kope, Amlapo, Kase, Asigbe Kope, Fantevi Kope, Kodo Kope, Tojoin, Kajanya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the aforementioned 20 communities and their environs in the Adan constituency are served with safe water from the Keseve Adafwa water supply system with a capacity of 39,112 cubic meters per day, managed by the Ghana Water Company Limited, and also from the 3-district water scheme with a design capacity of 3,500 cubic meters per day under the management of the Community Water and Sanitation Agency. Mr. Speaker, however, communities, especially at the end of the distribution network within the supply areas of the 2 water systems, are faced with inadequate water flows because the distribution pipelines have limited capacities, which do not support the required water demand by the growing population. Mr. Speaker, to improve and to ensure continuous flow of water in these communities and their environs in the Adan constituency, the Ghana Water Company Limited has identified critical pipeline improvement works, which will be carried out early next year, 2022, in a progressive manner. Furthermore, the Community Water and Sanitation Agency has also initiated the process of increasing the water production capacity of the 3-district water scheme by installing a packaged water treatment plant to increase water production by 2,000 cubic meters per day, which includes laying of 21-kilometer HDPE pipeline from Mandavuno Junction to Aisa Junction, replacement of 2 45 cubic meter high lift pumps with 2 65 cubic meter high lift pumps to cater for the increased production from the packaged water treatment plants, replacement of 2 17 cubic meter high lift pumps with 2 45 cubic meter high lift pumps at the booster station, rehabilitation of the slow sand filtration unit to increase water production from the old system is in progress. Replacement of 3 submersible pumps at the intake and 4 high lift pumps at the pump house with higher capacity pumps to deliver more water to the communities. Pumps are yet to be installed. The installation of the packaged water treatment plant is expected to be completed by October 2021, which is this year, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable David Tufik.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister is giving us hope in 2022, but I think it is too far or too long for us to wait. Mr. Speaker, at the plant side, the pipe there is 10 inches. When it gets to Dodo Akope, it reduces to 6 inches. Then from Dodo Akope to Big Adan, it comes down to 4 inches. And 4 inches pipe is serving over 80,000 indigenes of Adan, or good people of Adan, which is creating all these problems. And we can take 2 months to fix it so that the good people of Adan will have their freedom when it comes to water, because the communities are suffering too much when it comes to water. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I don't know whether this is a question or a comment. Honorable Minister, can you change the pipes, the 4-inch pipes, to improve water supply to Ada?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was wondering whether the honourable member was making a recommendation or a statement to me, but you've given me the green light, so I'll go ahead and answer. Mr. Speaker, like I said, the pipeline or the pipes the honourable member is talking about has to do with the work the Ghana Water Company Limited has proposed to do in the year 2022. I agree with her. The waiting can be frustrating, but I can assure her that we'll take on the urgency of the matter as we normally do and see what can be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, follow up. Is it possible to reduce the time, duration, to 2 months, because already we have water in Adan, the river, we have clean river water, not polluted one. So if we can do it within 2 months, it will reduce the suffering of the people of Adan. Can we do that, please, Madam Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What the honourable member is referring to demands that we budget for that project. And like I said, we'll look at what can be done. But I cannot, Mr. Speaker, stand here and promise that this can be done in 2 months.
Very well. Thank you, Honorable Leader. I'll move on to question number 93. Standing in the name of the Honorable Member for Sege, Christian Colette Otute.
Mr. Speaker, I have the authority of the Honorable Member to seek leave to ask the question on his behalf. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources if there are plans to help solve the water crisis facing the Sege constituency. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Sege constituency is currently being served with potable water from the 3-district water scheme managed by the Community Water and Sanitation Agency. As a result of the expansion of the communities and industries located along the N1 main highway from Aveime to Tema roundabout, the ministry through Ghana Water Company Limited has considered the implementation of the Aveime water supply project with a capacity of 62,000 cubic meters per day. Sege constituency as one of the beneficiaries under the proposed Aveime water supply project. The project would improve water supply mainly to all communities located along the main N1 highway from Aveime to Tema roundabout, including Sege, Dawa Free Zones Enclave, the Tema Free Zones Enclave, Sagleme Housing Project, Pong Housing Project, Community 25, Dawenya, Pram Pram, Sagleme Bato, Mepe, Aveime, Central University, and the Tema Heavy Industrial Area. The project is envisaged to supply water to over 300,000 people living in the supply area. Mr. Speaker, the Danida Sustainable Infrastructure Financing is considering financing for the Aveime water supply project. The project has passed the screening test of DSIF. The preparation of terms of reference for the conduct of feasibility studies and detailed designs are underway. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker, the Minister in her answer, particularly in the last paragraph, hints of the fact that detailed designs are underway. Mr. Speaker, would the Minister be kind enough to tell the House when the designs will be finalized and when tendering will be done so that the project can start?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I might have to come back with the answers for the particular questions raised. These are technical matters, and I need my technical team to help. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, that will be all.
Very well. Question number 133. In the name of the Honorable Member for Atebubu Amanting, Mr. Sanja Nanja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources what measures the ministry is putting in place to curb the perennial water crisis in Atebu Township.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the provision and management of potable water in the Atebubu municipality and surrounding communities has been through collaborative efforts between the Atebubu Municipal Assembly and a number of partners, including World Vision Ghana and the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, CWSA. Mr. Speaker, the most common sources of drinking water for households in the Atebubu area are protected wells, boreholes, rivers, and streams. To curb the issue of perennial water problems, the Ghana Water Company Limited is engaged in the preparation processes to construct a 31,000 cubic meter per day water treatment plant to meet the entire water needs of the residents in the area up to the year 2040. Mr. Speaker, discussions are far advanced at the level of the Ghana Water Company Limited and the contractor in the preparation of technical and financial proposals, following which a commercial contract will be signed to pave way for consideration by Cabinet and Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Sanjaran.
Mr. Speaker, I want to know from the Minister whether the project is going to be a rehabilitation and expansion of the small town water system, or it's going to be an entirely a new project.
Mr. Speaker, it's going to be a new project which will produce 31,000 cubic meters per day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Specifically, can the Minister give us the timelines these discussions will be completed? And also, when will the contract be awarded for the project to start?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I heard the honourable member correctly, I did say that the processes have begun, and we all know it goes through processes, and then negotiations are held, then the memo is finalized, taken to Cabinet, and then brought to Parliament. So I cannot, for the life of me, Mr. Speaker, give a timeline. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. You have exhausted your 3 questions, or? You've done 2. Very well. Yes, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the Honourable Minister. However, I want to know, can he tell the House, since they have identified the contractor and discussions are ongoing, can you give us the name of the contractor and as to whether the contract, the company is a foreign company or a local company?
Mr. Speaker, this is an EPC contract that will be effected, and I will crave your indulgence to not to go ahead of time to give out the name of the contractor. It could change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honourable Minister, we thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. You are discharged. We may now invite the Honourable Deputy Minister for Gender to take their seat. The Honourable Member for North Day, Ms. Jocelyn Tete, you may ask your question. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to seek for your permission to ask the question on behalf of
Very well.
Honourable Jocelyn Tete, MP for North. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection
when the school feeding program will be extended to the underlisted schools in the North Dan district, our Tetonu DA Basic School, Bako New Adomi DA Basic School, Usuta Peme, Secretary DA Basic School. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Government mandates the ministry to undertake some major reforms and restructuring on the Ghana school program. Mr. Speaker, let me take it again. Government mandates the ministry to undertake some reforms and restructuring on the Ghana school feed program to ensure more efficient and accountability. As soon as these reforms are completed, all government schools from kindergarten to primary 6, which includes those listed in the North Dai district, will be covered under the Ghana school feeding program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker, in the minister's answer, she said the ministry is undertaking major reforms and restructuring on the Ghana school feeding program. Mr. Speaker, we know for a fact that in the budget that was presented to this House, school feeding has been taken from the Ministry of Gender to the local government ministry. So what major reforms is she talking about?
Honorable Member, this does not come from the answer. Kindly ask a question that is related to the answer she has given. I did not admit the question, so kindly take your seat. Very well.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
Honorable Jocelyn is in, so can she do the follow-up?
I've already permitted you to take her place, so.
Mr. Speaker, she didn't answer my question. She didn't answer the follow-up.
I did not admit that question, so I'm saying you can ask another question or rephrase the question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when will they finish the reform that she talked about? When? Any timeline for the reforms and reconstruction to be completed?
Yes, Honorable Minister, can you share the time you intend to finish the restructuring?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We hope within the next 2 months the restructuring will be completed. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, may I ask your permission to ask Honorable Jocelyn to ask the last two?
Unfortunately, she cannot be seen now. You are in her place, so she cannot be seen. Unfortunately, she cannot be seen in this question. You exhausted because this is a general question. If she wants to ask further questions, I'll admit her. But for now, you are answering the question. Sorry, you are asking the question on her behalf.
I will ask. Okay, Mr. Speaker, may I know from the minister, or can she assure this House that after the reforms and restructuring is done, the schools that I have mentioned will benefit from the school feeding program?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure my honorable colleague that after the restructuring, all schools will be captured under school feeding. Thank you.
Are you done? Yes, I'll give you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to follow up with the Deputy Minister. I wanted to know how many schools are being served now under the school feeding program in the North District before the reforms.
Honorable Member, this is not right coming out of this question. That is not emanating from her answer. If you want that information, you have to ask that separately. I'm saying that the follow-up question must emanate from the answer given.
Okay.
The number of schools on it does not emanate from the answer given. So you may ask another question.
Right Honorable Speaker, I would want to ask how many schools they intend adding to the existing ones after the reform.
She said all schools. That was her answer.
All public.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the minister hints of reforms that they are undertaking presently. What exactly is the nature of these reforms? If you should be kind enough to tell the House, the nature of the reforms, we want to know.
Kindly file your own question.
Mr. Speaker, is it new letterheads?
Yes. Can you ask your question if you wish to?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. From the Minister's response, and with your indulgence, I read, as soon as these reforms are completed, all government schools from kindergarten to primary 6, which include those listed in the North District, will be covered. Firstly, I would want to get clarity from the minister whether the school feeding presently is under the care and administration of the Gender Ministry or Ministry for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development.
Well, unfortunately, you have to file your own question to get that information. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the minister, in one of her responses, stated that the reforms that they are undertaking will be done in 2 months. She has also stated that all schools will be benefiting from the school feeding program. For clarity, is the minister assuring us that all schools that are currently not under the school feeding program will be put on 2 months from now after the restructuring is done? Thank you.
What is unclear about the answer she gave? It is there. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, I wanted to even correct the question. The minister has not said all schools will be covered. He hasn't said so. He says all government schools, not all schools. And also, it's from kindergarten to primary 6. So it's not all schools.
You've lost your chance. The answer is very clear. All public schools, kindergarten to primary 6, will be covered. That is straightforward. I think I should discharge her. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. In the minister's answer, she said government mandated the ministry to undertake some major reforms. I want to know from the minister, when did the government mandate them to do or to undertake these reforms, and why the delay? What are some of the stumbling blocks? Thank you.
Let's kindly ask your own question. This question is very clear. Please, for the record, the question is to ask the Minister for Gender, Social Protection, when the school feeding program will be extended to the schools listed. It's actually a constituency-specific one. But because the answer suggested that all schools, primary and public sector, will be covered, I permitted follow-up. But you're taking advantage to ask questions not related to the answer. Honorable Deputy Minister, thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. You're discharged. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Speaker, I know you have admitted a statement, but the minority leader has given an indication to me that he wants to exit to go and take some crucial assignment. And in that regard, I would plead that we alter the business of the House by talking to a petition that we have received on behalf of Mr. Speaker. So, Speaker, if you agree with me, by your leave, I want to seek that the order of business set out on the order paper may be altered to accommodate the petition that we have received on behalf of the Speaker. The Speaker.
Very well, may proceed.
The youth wing of the NDC embarked on a demonstration today, but the demonstration was not limited to the youth wing of the NDC alone. It included elderly persons, including the chairman, the general secretary, and people with receding hairlines who call themselves youth. The Speaker, they presented a petition to the Speaker. Unfortunately, as we have been informed, the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, has had to respond to an invitation from his counterpart in Nigeria. So he's traveled out of Ghana to attend to that invitation. On account of that, Mr. Speaker, when the demonstrators came to Parliament, we received the petition, ostensibly meant for the Speaker, on behalf of Right Honourable Speaker, and on behalf of the leadership, the Speaker, I want to present the petition to your Right Honourable Speaker by having it laid on the table. So, Mr. Speaker, you do what is needful with that. I beg to submit.
Very well.
Speaker,
Yes,
at this stage, I don't want to comment on it yet, but if the minority leader may want to briefly comment on it, perhaps that will also engender some brief remarks from me. I thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, understandably, as the leader of government business have observed, and so late the petition for your guidance of the House to take note of the issues raised in the petition and particularly directed for appropriate parliamentary action. I do not, Mr. Speaker, intend to prejudice any work that Parliament will do under your guidance. Suffice it to add that the demonstration, I understand, was very peaceful. It drew attention to growing hardship in the country, but with particular emphasis on infractions of excesses of men in uniform, the security agencies, the police, and the Ghana Armed Forces engage in some unacceptable bestiality of unruly behavior. Mr. Speaker, this Parliament, I believe, will hold the police and the Ghana Armed Forces accountable as is required of us. Parliament remains a guardian of the fundamental rights and freedoms of citizens. We have a duty to preserve and protect our Constitution. We have a duty to safeguard our democracy, and we have a responsibility to ensure that Ghana remains a peaceful, stable country. We cannot achieve that if freedom of expression remains on attack, civil liberties are disrespected, and no punishment is meted out. So, Mr. Speaker, we'll wait for your guidance on this particular matter as the leader has so laid the paper. But, Mr. Speaker, to assure that Parliament will live up to the calling in holding any person or institution accountable to any excesses or infractions of the law. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Leader.
Speaker, as the minority leader has observed, the freedom of association is guaranteed by the Constitution of this country. Freedom of demonstration is also guaranteed. Freedom of speech is equally guaranteed by the Constitution. Speaker, the demonstration, we are told, was about the right to life, the protection of the lives of the citizens of this country. Speaker, that cannot be contentious. Since 1993, when we came under this dispensation of democratic rule, we've occasionally run into bumps of security forces who are supposed to protect life and property, clashing with citizens, and the Speaker causing some afflictions to citizens. These are not acceptable. The Speaker, we must live up to these happenings. We must also admit that they are not happenings relating to today. They happened yesterday and they happened the day before yesterday. Whatever it is not good enough. And Speaker, I'm happy that today we've seen this demonstration. That the demonstration itself was peaceful, and that the demonstrators were protected by the same police, the same security agencies, is commendable. Mr. Speaker, the demonstrators came to Parliament to present their petition. That it happened means that democracy is working in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't mean that our democracy is perfect, and we must correct the processes and procedures to ensure that we straighten up our living within the remit of democratic rule. Speaker, as I said, the two of us received the petition on behalf of the Speaker, and we want to believe that the necessary processes will be triggered to ensure appropriate inquiry and investigation into the circumstances of the matters that have been referred to by the petition. Mr. Speaker, I do not want us to be selective. If we are selective about these things, we cannot achieve the purpose of investigating to protect life. Mr. Speaker, I believe that whatever has happened, if it happened yesterday, if it happened the day before yesterday, if the matter is referred to the appropriate parliamentary committee, they should be given the authority to inquire into these matters whenever they happened, so that we'll be able to straighten the course of our democracy. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity granted.
Leaders, what is your suggestion about what to do with the statement?
Yes, Speaker, I would want to believe that we can have a joint committee of Constitutional Parliamentary Affairs Committee in conjunction with to investigate and report to Parliament.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Speaker, I'm the leader on this matter. I believe the two joint committees of Constitutional Legal Affairs and the Defense and Interior Committee can look into the matter and report back to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
May I suggest that we defer any referral today and discuss it at the leadership meeting tomorrow thoroughly before we make any pronouncement on it. Right. Thank you. In that circumstance, can I invite the Honorable Member for Obuasi West, Honorable Koku Kwating, to read a statement, a short statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to formally draw Parliament's attention to some unusual price developments in our market in respect of building materials, namely iron rods, cement, sand, aggregates, and other materials for construction. In recent times, there have been unusual price hikes of these items on the market, which has understandably provoked complaints from industry operators and consumers in my constituency of Obuasi West and in the entire construction industry in the country. These price developments have triggered further hikes in building-related services such as excavation, drilling, tiling, etc. Indeed, I have heard complaints, Mr. Speaker, that even water supply to construction sites and construction labor have all become unusually more expensive. It is hard to figure out the source of these unusual price increases. We know that Parliament has not passed any law that could have added any tax or levy to the prices of these items. The price hikes for these items predate the recent taxes this Parliament approved as part of the 2021 budget statement and economic policy. In any event, the 2021 budget-related taxes were not on building materials. Nature could not have even indirectly affected the prices of building materials exclusively. Mr. Speaker, it is a strange development that must be frontally. We need to check this for the sake of the construction industry. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, We need to get to the bottom of this disturbing development to ensure that it does not spread to other commodities and other industries on the market. It is therefore my respectful view that Parliament needs to take steps open to us under our standing orders and the law to assist the country deal with this matter. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity also to contribute to the statement that was moved by my committee chairman. Mr. Speaker, clearly I would have thought that the chairman of the Finance Committee wields enough power as a chairman of the Finance Committee to be able to look into the matter and to find out what is really driving these prices that is being increased. Mr. Speaker, I know that Ghana is in a free market economy. Free market economy where prices of goods and services are normally determined by market forces, depending on demand and supply. So probably, the issues that he's being raised or he's talking about are driven on the back of demand and supply. Without that, I'm sure he knows enough to be able to draw that judgment. But I'm surprised that this matter is coming at this time. Mr. Speaker, the phenomenon that our chairman is raising is something that we believe that we should find a way and to interrogate the matter and to find out what is really driving it. Because clearly, if indeed that this is artificially done, then it has a negative impact on the Ghanaian economy. Because clearly, people's disposable income that are supposed to be used for construction obviously are being used to pay for arbitrary prices or prices at a very high rate. Speaker, I know that Obuasi is quite close to Kumasi. So if for any reason some of these items are too expensive in Obuasi, you can direct the traffic to Kumasi so that they can buy the things from Kumasi. That will force the business owners to behave. That will clearly force them to behave. Because, Mr. Speaker, I see no reason why cement prices in Obuasi should be far expensive than Kumasi. That shouldn't be the case. Or cement prices in Obuasi higher than that of neighboring constituencies or other constituencies within the country. Because clearly, if you are talking of haulage, then our brothers and sisters who are in the northern part of the country should rather be the one to complain. Certainly not Obuasi. Because Obuasi is quite close to Tema, where Ghana Cement, GASEP, is producing, than going to a place like Walawale or Wa. So if our constituents from Wa are not complaining of high prices of cement, then clearly there is something definitely wrong with the way business owners are charging in Obuasi constituency. Mr. Speaker, let me end by saying that I think the chairman has raised a very critical matter. It's a matter that we should all be interested in, and to find out what is really driving some of this. Whether it is taxes that is driving it, or Mr. Speaker, there are local taxes normally administered by district assembly. He said that this predates the imposition of taxes that were recently passed. But he did not say to us that whether the district assembly are also charging some levies that are higher than other constituencies or other districts. That can be the cause. So probably we may have to look at this matter. But I would have wished that you share this statement with us so that we'll be able to look at the matter before then. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Available Leader.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity and I commend my colleague for this statement. Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest headaches in this country currently is the cost of building materials. Mr. Speaker, eventually this will lead to even rents going up because if it costs more
to build, it will be passed on eventually. Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised our colleague, the former Deputy Minister of Finance, is saying we need to investigate. He can't tell what is going on. Mr. Speaker, a factor of cost of construction everywhere in the world is the price of fuel. I'm telling you, because you see, Mr. Speaker, especially in road, apart from the cost of haulaging materials, which is huge because depending on where you are doing your work, and you need to haulage crushed material from another location, if you check the bill, a big chunk of it is haulaging of material, and it's related to fuel. In fact, you even need diesel and others to mix some of the material before you lay them. Asphalt is a factor of bitumen and other admixtures. So he should be clear. It should be clear that we know why the cost of construction is expensive. Mr. Speaker, just yesterday, a client asked me to find out how much it cost him to buy 20 tons of iron rod, 12 tons, 16 8 tons. Mr. Speaker, a quotation was given to this client around December, and which was just around over 3,700 cedis per ton. Now, that same client is going to pay 5,550 cedis per ton. Almost double, Mr. Speaker. And the Deputy Minister should be telling us, in his experience, what is causing this, Mr. Speaker? This is cash.
You are also an experienced constructor.
Mr. Speaker,
what do you think is causing this?
Yes, I feel it's interest rate depreciation. Also, the cost of fuel, because and many of these materials are imported. Though we try to produce a certain quantum of iron rods in Ghana, significantly, even some of the people who said they are doing free, one DC, one factory, who come under construction materials, actually import, even plastic, everything. They import finished product, so it costs them money. Mr. Speaker, we need to take a very critical look at this. Mr. Speaker, cement is produced in this country, but the raw material for cement is not produced in this country. It's all imported. So it is clear. And Mr. Speaker, government must be ready to pay more. Why? Because a few of the contracts are at measurements. What it means is that even if you award a road contract to somebody for 100 million, even in January, the QS would do a bill based on the price of material as of the time they are measuring the work has been done. So whatever you think the cost of project are at the time of award may not be what you will be required to pay as a government. So it should not be the concern of only private people. Government itself must be concerned. Mr. Speaker, can we do anything about this? Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you can do anything about this. Like Honorable Ato Forson said, it's a market, it's a free market thing. You can't do a control price by decreeing morning a ton of iron rod should sell back at 3,200. You can't do it. In fact, I'll be happy if you can do that and decree that from tomorrow morning a bag of cement goes back to 37 cedis. I'll be happy because I've got clients who I can pass on this good news to. So your side runs the government. Tell us what the contractor is supposed to do to reduce costs and make construction costs cheaper for the ordinary man. As for government, they will take taxes to do that. But what about the teacher who is trying to do a chamber and hall before he retires? That is the people, those are the people which we should be thinking of. So I think this is a very important statement, but the answer lies with the way government is managing the economy. Businessmen want to sell things and make money. They don't increase prices because they want to make astronomical prices. They increase prices based on what they have also made when they meet their suppliers. So the solution with the government, this side of the house will help government. But Mr. Speaker, if we don't control the cost of building materials, it will lead to things that may not be good for this country. And the easiest way is that government bill will have to go up because government is still the biggest sponsor of major construction activities in this country. This is why I consider this statement very important. And we as a house must do something to let the public know whether prices will continue to be volatile, or at least we can predict what prices will be over a period of time so that businessmen and women can plan for it. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Leader.
Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to also make a few comments on this. Speaker, I believe this is a very serious statement. They make the member for Obuasi West, himself a former Deputy Minister for Finance. Speaker, I want to believe that the member came under Order 72 to make this personal statement, which is of urgent public importance. And that is why it should not be trivialized. Mr. Speaker, the escalating cost of building materials in particular is not limited to the Obuasi enclave alone. He is citing what obtains in his own backyard, but it's everywhere in the country. Mr. Speaker,
including Bekwai, where there's a cement factory. I said, even Bekwai, where there's a cement factory, the price of cement has gone up, notwithstanding the proximity to the factory.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So this is across board. Mr. Speaker, why it is very serious is that, well, for now, we are in the business of counting the number of houses in this country. The projection all this while has been that the deficit of housing is in the region of between 1.5 million and 2 million. I'm not too sure of what the exact figure is. Because, Mr. Speaker, we don't even know the housing stock in this country. The point, however, remains that demand for housing outstrips supply in this country. And that is the reason why rent is so high. So we need to bridge the gap. And if the attempt to bridge the gap, we are confronted with this situation. As a nation, we must sit up and analyze the situation. The Speaker, my colleague who contributed was saying that the price of fuel is a factor. I agree that the price of fuel is a factor. But if indeed it's driven by fuel prices, it should affect all materials in this country, not only building materials. So how come that building materials are escalating, Mr. Speaker, in the manner that they are escalating? That should suggest to you that there's something much more to that than fuel prices. Mr. Speaker, if you're talking about escalating fuel cost of materials and all manner of goods and services in this country, fuel certainly will be a major factor. The exchange rate will be a factor. Relatively, the exchange rate has been stable. In relative terms, it's been stable. Mr. Speaker, this House has not passed any bill to increase the levies on building materials. Why is it happening the way it's happening? We must not forget that there are few dealers in cement. The manufacturing companies are not too many. So there could be a cabalistic arrangement that perhaps would result in price escalation. We need to deal with it. Mr. Speaker, how come that iron rods that were imported from far away Ukraine, Mr. Speaker, they come into this country and they are more than 50% lower than the iron rods are. Something certainly is wrong somewhere. So, Mr. Speaker, this is not this House of the House is taking a position matter. And that will governs. We should not be reducing everything to partisan considerations. You are too senior a member in this House to be doing that. And what should who do here? It's a collective responsibility on the part of this House. Mr. Speaker, oversight responsibility is not on one side of this House. Inquiry into the conduct of business by government is on the shoulders of this House as a collective. Don't reduce everything to partisan considerations. This side of the House is taking a position, and this quarter of the House. Mr. Speaker, we should live up to reality. It's not good enough a position to always adopt. Mr. Speaker, so I would agree with my colleague, the member for Boise West, that let this House investigate this. I would want, because these relate to prices, I want to have the Finance Committee and the Committee on Western Housing to go into this. Mr. Speaker, I believe that it's a matter of paramount concern to this country. And I think that the Committee on Finance, possibly with the leadership of the Committee on Western Housing, should dare trade. So you see, you agree with me that we should deal with this at all, as a collective. That is why government should be spoken to. Government Agboja should be, government should be spoken to. So Speaker, this is a responsibility that this House must be tasked with. Perhaps, maybe to investigate and report back to this House within a matter of 2 weeks, or certainly not more than 3 weeks. They can do that and let us know of. Mr. Speaker, nobody needs any help from anybody. It's a matter for this House. That is how you should appreciate the matter. It's not an NDC matter. It's not an MPP matter. Mr. Speaker, so I would want to plead that you make the necessary referral on this matter to have the relevant committees, as I said, relate to it. And the Honorable Atuforsen, I mentioned Finance, Western Housing. The Honorable Atuforsen is indicating to us that we need to perhaps also add the leadership of the Committee on Trade and Industry. I agree with him. Mr. Speaker, we can make the referral and charge them to report to this House within a very short time. I would think that not more than 3 weeks they should be able to go into this matter and report to this House. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Very well. So the suggestion is that the House should set a committee to investigate and report? Is that a suggestion?
Mr. Speaker, not to set up a new or an ad hoc committee. We're just saying that refer the matter to the Finance Committee to be joined by the leadership of the committees on trade and industry and Western House, and charge them, give them a limited time, maybe 3 weeks, to report back to this House on this matter.
Yes, Minority Leadership, the suggestion is that the Finance Committee, joined by the leadership of Western Housing and Trade, to investigate and report.
Mr. Speaker, that is appropriate. If these committees can look into it and advise the House as to the basis of escalating the prices of the building materials. But Majority Leader said it's only building materials that are escalating. Well, okay, because we know everything. So if they can make the building materials as a reference, but find out why prices are escalating on the market, that will be very, very helpful. Yes, thank you.
Very well, honorable members, my job is cut out for me. The debate is over. It's my turn. Yes, what information?
Speaker, just for clarity, the Honorable Kweku Kwarteng's statement was constituency specific, Obuasi.
No, please. No, please.
Okay.
It goes beyond Obuasi. The statement goes beyond. Right. So my job is cut out for me. I direct the Committee on Finance, assisted by the leadership of Committee on Western Housing and Committee on Trade and Industry, to investigate the escalation of the prices of building materials and related materials or matters, and report to the House within 4 weeks. Within 4 weeks. Very well. We can now proceed to the public business. At the commencement of public business, I'll go to the order paper addendum. Item 2, presentation of papers by the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave to delete the number 275 for it to reach the purchase of vehicles. Before I present, I lay the paper.
Very well. Deleted. You may now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the order paper addendum?
Medium-term loan agreements among the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, members of the 8th Parliament, 2021 to 2024, and the National Investment Bank Limited, for an amount of 28 million United States dollars to finance the purchase of vehicles for members of the 8th Parliament, 2021 to 2024.
The paper is duly presented. It refers to the Committee on Finance, consider and report. Are we ready to do item II? Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I lay the paper, I seek your leave to delete number 31 for it to reach the purchase of vehicles for members of the 8th Council of State.
Very well. 31
Thank
deleted.
you, Mr. Speaker.
Medium-term loan agreements among the governments of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, members of the 8th Council of State of the Republic of Ghana, 2021 to 2024, and the National Investment Bank Limited, for an amount of $3,500,000 United States dollars to finance the purchase of vehicles for members of the 8th Council of State, 2021 to 2024.
The paper is duly presented. It refers to the Committee on Finance to consider and report. Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, these agreements come with the exemptions component. Sometimes we bring them separately, but they are encapsulated in the main agreements. So, Mr. Speaker, in presenting this to the House, that is in respect of Parliament and the Council of State, I want it to be construed that the exemptions component is part of this, even though they come to be presented to the committee separately. And it's part of the agreement. Thank you very much.
Very well. Yes. What next? Honorable Majority Leader, on the main order paper, item 7. Are you ready to do item 7? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the papers listed could be presented to the House, and I'll do so immediately.
Very well. Item 7A, I.
Reports of the Auditor General on pre-university educational institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2020.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Education to consider and report. Item AII.
Reports of the Auditor General on the management and utilization of District Assemblies Common Fund, DACF, and other statutory funds for the year ended 31st December 2020.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Local Governance to consider and report. Item AIII.
Reports of the Auditor General on the accounts of district assemblies for the financial year ended 31st December 2020.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Local Governance. Oh, very well. Other members, these are the Auditor General's report, so the Public Accounts Committee should be the recipient, yes. So, item AI, and III, which were earlier, referred to the committees on education and local governance, are hereby revoked, and they are now referred to the committee, the Public Accounts Committee, to consider and report. Item AIV.
Speaker, if you don't mind, perhaps we could call out all those ones and then up to 8, and we could refer all of them to Public Accounts Committee. So VIV, VIV, VIII, we put together in one basket. I'll do the presentation and then do the referral to the Public Accounts Committee.
I mean up to XII. Very well. So kindly read them out so I refer them to the Public Accounts Committee.
Reports of the Auditor General on the Public Sector Accounts of Ghana, Consolidated Funds, General Government, for the year ended 31st December 2020. Reports of the Auditor General on the Public Accounts of Ghana, Ministries, Departments, and other agencies for the year ended 31st December 2020. Reports of the Auditor General on the Public Accounts of Ghana, Public Boards, Corporations, and other statutory institutions for the period ended 31st December 2020. Report of the Auditor General on the Public Accounts of Ghana, Technical Universities for the period ended 31st December 2020. Reports of the Auditor General on the consolidated statements of the foreign exchange receipts and payments of the Bank of Ghana, BOG, for the year ended 31st December 2020. Performance audit reports of the Auditor General on the construction of 30,000 empty warehouses. Performance audit reports of the Auditor General on the provision of adoption services by Central Adoption Authority and Department of Social Welfare. Performance audit reports of the Auditor General on regulating reclamation activities at small-scale mining sites. Performance audit reports of the Auditor General on selected road works in the Greater Kumasi metropolis.
Honourable members, the reports advertised as item IV through to XIII, I hereby refer to the Public Accounts Committee to consider and report. Yes.
The Speaker, you recollect that I mentioned that we put items A, Roman number 4, and indeed Roman number 1 to Roman number 7 to the Public Accounts Committee. The 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, I wasn't too sure. Mr. Speaker, I don't know, even though it is not traditional or conventional, I'm looking at 8, for instance. It is the Finance Committee that deals with foreign exchange receipts and payments in the Bank of Ghana. In this case, the report is coming from the Auditor General in respect of this. So I don't know whether for 8, it will not be tidy, the report going to Public Accounts Committee to join at least the leadership of the Finance Committee. Because it's the Finance Committee that deals with this. 8. So I don't know whether we will not depart from tradition and do that. Mr. Speaker, so that's the point I'm making. Whether we're not, I'm not saying that it should be a joint committee. It's public accounts. But I think that because it's the finance committee that traces and tracks this with the Bank of Ghana, I thought that the leadership, in respect of 8 of finance committee, yes, because they are in a better position to really monitor this. That's the reason I'm looking at this.
Very well.
Just so as for 9, again, is the Ministry of Agric that deals with it. At least maybe there, the leadership of Agric could also be. And then you come to 10, the Central Abduction Authority and Department of Social Welfare, the relevant committee, reclamation activities of small-scale mining sites. Again, public accounts dealing with it. I think that the committee, the leadership of the committee on mines and energy, could be added to it. And then selected road works in Greater Kumasi Metropolis. The public accounts committee would not be enamored to deal with this without the committee on roads. So if the leadership, so if we do the segregation and in these particular cases, that is 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, have the leadership of the relevant committees join up with the public accounts committee, I think it will be tidier. It will be easier for them to conduct their activities. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Yes, Mana's leadership, but it's a test.
Right, Mr. Speaker, the convention is these reports are submitted to the Public Accounts Committee, but I can see the logic in what leader is saying, because indeed, if it's about Bank of Ghana, the Finance Committee will have a better understanding of it, and if it's about the construction of warehouses, obviously the original approval for the construction of these warehouses was done by the Committee on Agric. So I think I support what leader is saying. Let's try this and see, maybe.
Very well. In the circumstance, I direct that the leadership of the Finance Committee, the Agri Committee, the Committee on Social Welfare, the Committee on Mines and Energy, and the Committee on Roads and Transport would join the Public Accounts Committee as appropriate when these matters have come to be discussed. The second Deputy Speaker will take the chair. Yes.
Yes, Majority Chief Whip. Any indications?
Speaker, if we may take item 7, B and C.
Very well. 7B by the chairman.
Speaker, 7B, B for Bell, and C for Camel.
B. Yes, 7B. Yes, the chairman.
Report Report of the Committee on Youth, Sports and Culture on the agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and the African Union, represented by the African Union Commission, relating to the technical and material hosting of the 13th African Games in Accra, Ghana in 2023.
Yes, honorable members, the report is duly presented. It is for distribution to honorable members. Yes, 7C. Chairman.
Reports of the Committee on Environment, Science and Technology on the cooperation agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, acting through the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and the Swiss Confederation, acting through the Federal Department of the Environment, Transport, Energy and Communications, towards the implementation of the Article 6 of the Paris Climate Change Agreement.
Honorable members, the report is duly presented. It is for distribution to honorable members. Yes, Majority Whip.
Speaker, if we may take item number 16 on page 13, which is a motion. Thank you.
Yes. Item number 16, page 13. By the Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the motion listed as item 16 on today's order paper be moved now. And in doing so, with your leave, I will present your committee's report. I'll take the highlights and request the Hansa Department to capture the entire content of the report. Mr. Speaker, you referred this agreement to the Finance Committee for consideration and report on Wednesday, the 30th of June 2021. And the Deputy Minister for Finance, Honorable John Kuma, and two Deputy Ministers from Local Government Decentralization and Rural Development, Honorable Obi Amoa and Honorable Collins in team, and officers from the two ministries, as well as the Chief Director of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, assisted the committee to look at your referral. Mr. Speaker, your committee was informed that as part of the efforts by government to end extreme poverty, the Ghana Poverty Safety Net project was designed and it's being implemented with some $81 million to improve the productivity of the poor and strengthen the country's social safety net systems. The GPSNP became effective in June 2019 and will end by the end of December 2022. The project was restructured in August 2020 to intensify government social safety net response to the domestic adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. In response to the pandemic, the GPSNP also enabled government to double the regular transfer amounts to LEAP households, as well as developing and implementing an information, communication, and an engagement strategy in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. Although the aforementioned interventions have so far yielded significant results, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the accompanying global economic crisis serve as a major setback to to Ghana's prospects for further reduction in poverty. It is in this context that an additional financing is required to further bridge the budgetary gap under the parent project, as well as a scale-up project activity in order to consolidate the gains of the project. It is in this vein that government has sought from the IDA this additional credit facility of $100 million to support the Ghana Productivity Safety Net project, part 2, and it is in this facility that is currently before the House for approval. The objective of the loan is to secure additional funding to finance the implementation of the project. Mr. Speaker, the terms of the project clearly listed under paragraph 5 of your committee's report is on page 5. On page 6, Mr. Speaker, you see the committee's observations. And on page 8, the committee concludes as follows: that we have carefully considered the financing agreement and is of the view that the project will go a long way to address the issue of extreme poverty in the country, as well as inclusive growth of the citizens, especially as the adverse effects of the pandemic continues to bite. The committee thus recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the financing agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance and the International Development Association, for an amount of $100 million to finance the project in accordance with Article 181 of the Constitution, the Public Financial Management Act 2016, and the standing orders of this August House. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Ranking Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to second the motion. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me also state that the financing terms are straightforward. It's indeed in line with medium-term, middle-income country IDA loans. Mr. Speaker, in fact, though the financing terms fall short of the minimum concessionality to make it a concessional loan, it is still competitive, and I believe it is in the right direction for us to go for this loan. Mr. Speaker, let me also say that my concern emanates from the fact that Ghana, after so many years of our independence, we are still borrowing to end poverty. Mr. Speaker, I believe this is something all of us should be very concerned about. Mr. Speaker, as a country, we should indeed take our revenue mobilization serious, because we cannot continue borrowing for the purposes of ending poverty. For how long will we be able to borrow to end poverty? Mr. Speaker, yes, I agree that we need to work on LEAP. Yes, I agree that we have to work on labor-intensive loans, roads. Mr. Speaker, we are borrowing for the purposes of giving to support LEAP, Livelihood Empowerment Program. Though it is a good project, Mr. Speaker, it is not sustainable for us to continually borrow to support that program. And that is why I want to urge the Ministry of Finance to find a sustainable way of financing this program, instead of always going to the World Bank to borrow to fund LEAP. Mr. Speaker, some of the items that we are going to spend this amount on, Mr. Speaker, for me, I'm worried. I'm worried in the sense of, Speaker, if you look at component 5, we were told that an amount of $8 million will be used to finance the cost associated with management, coordination, and capacity building for the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Gender. Mr. Speaker, $8 million capacity building. Mr. Speaker, we don't end there. If you go to the other component 5.1, it's also amounting to $4 million. Mr. Speaker, it says that this subcomponent will also be used to finance project management, coordination, technical assistance, and capacity building. Another $4 million. Mr. Speaker, yes, we need these loans, but I'm particularly disturbed with the use of some of these proceeds. $4 million capacity building,
another 8 million capacity building, to put together $12 million US. Mr. Speaker, that is why oftentimes I criticize some of these World Bank loans. Because if you look at some of the items that we are using the money on, it's like we oftentimes engage consultants. That comes in, do the work. Sometimes they are not even local consultants. They come in and take the money away. And the country benefits very little from it. We should be worried about it. We should be worried about this. Because in the end, it doesn't benefit the country the way we expect this to benefit us. And so, Mr. Speaker, in as much as I support this, I want to put on record that I have some reservations. I have some reservations with the use of proceeds, particularly with the way we spend money on capacity building and consultants. Because, Mr. Speaker, there's no value for money with some of these things. And if indeed they wish us well, let the money stay in this economy. Let's allow Ghanaian consultants to also do some of this work, because we know our problems better than anyone who is coming to support us. We know our problems, and we can design policies that will suit us and benefit us better than anyone coming into our economy. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the ministers that going forward, when you are negotiating with the World Bank, please negotiate in such a way that there will be enough local content for Ghanaian consultants also. The practice in which we take loans and this consultant comes from other countries and take the money away, Mr. Speaker, it must stop, and must stop now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved and seconded. It is for the consideration of the House. I will invite two contributors from each side. Yes, Honourable Member for Kankwe Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in support of the motion on the floor and to take off from where my colleague from Ejuma Kwenyan Esiam ended. Mr. Speaker, there's not a single World Bank facility that does not come with capacity building. They are all embedded components that do precede the funding arrangement, for which a lot of consultancy ought to be undertaken before the facility is approved finally by the bank. Mr. Speaker, let me refer you to paragraph 4.0 on the objectives of the loan, which is clearly stated, especially the components on the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program, $20 million to finance the expansion of program coverage, improve targeting of the program for the poor households, increase benefit levels, and enhancement and strengthening of the capacity of decentralized structures. Mr. Speaker, why are we going for a second tranche or a phase 2 of this facility? It's because of the achievements listed under paragraph 6.2 on the status of phase 1 of the GPSNP program. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that a number of achievements were recorded since the implementation of phase 1. Mr. Speaker, we all agree that there are certain underprivileged parts of this country where steps have been taken by various governments to bridge their poverty levels. Mr. Speaker, you will see that under productive inclusion, the Complementary Livelihood and Asset Support Scheme class implementation team have been set up in 41 beneficiary district assemblies in the Upper East, Upper West, Savannah, Northeast, and the northern regions to support as many as 126 communities comprising over 8,683 beneficiaries who are given various grants in various areas that they were applying their economic activity. Mr. Speaker, the LEAP cash grant program under phase 1, as of December 2020, had enrolled a total of 335,015 households and were receiving a bi-monthly cash grant, which translated into over 1.45, almost 1.5 million individuals, comprising 799,000 females and 656,000 males. Mr. Speaker, the overall poverty alleviation strategy of government ought to be looked at, especially where the poverty lines are not, poverty levels are not being bridged at the rate at which we all expect some of these facilities to achieve. We need to have a holistic view of the poverty alleviation strategy of government in the country as a whole. And Mr. Speaker, this is one step, and I believe the funding arrangement is intact. I don't know the concessionality shortfall that my colleague from Ejumako is talking about. It means the 35% concessionary provision in terms of facilities that we take from the World Bank. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I beg to support the motion and ask that this House adopts the report. I thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion and to speak in support of it. But, Mr. Speaker, in doing so, to refer you to page 8 of your committee's report and to read, the committee observed that the financing agreement has a grant element of 22%. Has a grant element of 22%. Mr. Speaker, under Article 181 of the Constitution, our burden and mandate as a parliament is not to grant approval for grant. So if there is a grant element of 22%, so 22% of 100 million should give me some 22 million. It means that the loan we are approving for all intents and purposes should be 88 million and not 100 million, if I'm to follow the report. So, Mr. Speaker, I further refer you to page 5 of your committee's report. It says loan amount, 100 million. So, someone must explain to me the grant component where it belongs, because we cannot be approving, this is loan cum grant. So where is the grant? Because, Mr. Speaker, I'm raising it because the interest charge, the service charge, the commitment fee, is it charged on 88 million or on 100 million? Somebody must explain that to me from the Ministry of Finance and probably from the Committee on Finance. Mr. Speaker, reading this report, I can see that I'm a very proud member of the National Democratic Congress. Our friends opposite create an impression every time. The NDC have done nothing. They did nothing. But, Mr. Speaker, let me refer you to page 2 of your committee's report, where I take my satisfaction from being NDC and being part of the NDC government. It reads, Mr. Speaker, the country's favorable economic growth performance has been accompanied by a substantial reduction in the prevalence of poverty from 36% in 1992 to 8% in 2016. If even you have added 2017. So substantial reduction of poverty under the NDC government. Yet you create the impression every day. You create an impression every day. This is the government's contribution to ameliorating poverty in the country. The committee report speaks volumes of it, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the challenge of President Nana Addo Dankwa and the MPP, take the 8.2% to 1%. Let's measure you from 2017 to 2024. You must further reduce poverty. But, Mr. Speaker, whilst I make this observation, I should note that the Honorable Chairman of the Finance Committee made a very important comment. Accept it or not, COVID have contributed to deepening poverty. COVID have contributed to deepening inequality. COVID have contributed to reducing employment opportunities, particularly for women, even their income, by some research which has been conducted post-COVID 2020. Therefore, it's important that we take advantage of some of these facilities to be able to improve our post-COVID recovery as a country. But, Mr. Speaker, again, page 2. You tell us that National Health Insurance Scheme is doing well, and you are borrowing to go and finance it. Look at the list of items, Mr. Speaker. Ghana school feeding program. So school feeding, even as the Dutch government left it, Ghana beyond 8 means that Ghana without calabash. You don't hold a calabash to go borrowing and begging for money. That's the proper meaning of Ghana beyond 8. But if you are going for loans to finance national health insurance, to finance Ghana school feeding, then to finance LEAP, then what has happened to Ghana beyond 8? And what has happened to your quest to position Ghana as a favorable economy? Mr. Speaker, significant again, as observed by the committee, the growth of our economy, and I conclude with it, Mr. Speaker, paragraph 3, page 2. Ghana has recorded a relative high growth over the past 2 decades. It didn't say over the past 2 or 4 years. So there's been consistent growth of the economy of Ghana, thanks to successive government. Not the impression you create. In your manifesto of 2016, go and read it. You quoted that double-digit growth of the economy. That has not happened under the last 5 years. You said double-digit growth. You haven't grown any economy double-digit, but you have grown the economy, at least better than you met it in 2016. So, Mr. Speaker, with these comments, except that with labor-intensive public work, Mr. Speaker, next time tell us how much each of the workers is earning. Labor-intensive work, you just say 998. Because when we go to the field, this is not how much they are earning. They earn just a token. And when you say you've employed 34,246,000 beneficiaries, it should reflect in an improvement in their quality of life. Then, Mr. Speaker, social protection system strengthening, single window citizens engagement service. Let's look at it further. And as the ranking member advised, some of these facilities, when you go, what will go into consultancy insists that local Ghanaians can play a role and have a portion of the opportunity to serve. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I support the motion. Thank you.
Chairman, I'm coming. Okay, Chairman.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the minority leader's statement confirms the fact that when a previous government does the right thing, this administration will say it. I hope that when the wrong things that were done are also said, that we will accept it with the kind of enthusiasm that we have seen this afternoon. The second point is about the grant component. This is one facility. It's one facility with terms, and the grant component is part of the terms. It will be problematic to isolate the grant component and to say the approval of Parliament must just be in respect of a limited part of the entire agreement. So we take the whole facility and we take the grant component as a term of the facility. Speaker, the last point I'd like to make is that, when such facilities are taken, especially facilities that have grant components, the World Bank is a multinational institution of which Ghana is a member, to which Ghana subscribes. Now, if they have a facility that has grant components, and it is good for us to access that because you will not get that price on the market. It is smart economic management strategy to look at those aspects of your expenditure that you can put on such a facility, so that funds that were previously planned for those interventions can be diverted into expenditures that will not qualify under this facility. I think it is good economic management to do this, and it must not be made to look as though government is now having to borrow in order to finance commitments that the government has made to people, which commitment government is actually fulfilling. So let's not create an impression that we are now borrowing to do this. We are taking advantage
of a facility by a multinational institution to which we subscribe to finance existing expenditures so that resources will be freed for other expenditures that otherwise will not qualify under that facility. These are the points I thought I should put across, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity.
Honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, as many as are in support of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion has been adopted. Yes, Honourable Majority Whip.
Speaker, we can now go on to item number 17 on same page 13, which is a resolution.
Very well. Item number 17, page 13, resolution by the Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution captured as item 17 on pages 13 and 14 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honourable Leader.
Yes, I second the motion.
Honourable members, the resolution has been moved and seconded. As many as are in favour of the resolution say aye. Those against the resolution say no. The ayes have it, honourable members. The resolution is adopted. Yes, Majority Whip.
Speaker, the next item should be item 18 on page 14. Motion.
Item number 18 on today's order paper, page number 14, motion by the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the motion listed as item 18 be taken now, and in the process, I present your committee's report. I will take the highlights and request the Hansa Department to capture the entire report. Mr. Speaker, your committee met and discussed the agreement. It's another agreement by the International Development Association. We met with the Minister for Health, the Deputy Minister for Finance, and a team of officials from the two ministries to get them to assist us to look at your referral. Mr. Speaker, following the outbreak of the coronavirus disease 2019, the government of Ghana secured some 100 million funding from the World Bank in April 2020 to support the implementation of the COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan. The EPRP had been vital in preventing, detecting, as well as strengthening the national health systems to respond to the threat posed by the pandemic. The government rolled out the EPRP2 after the initial one with an additional financing of $130 million from the World Bank Group to strengthen and scale up the gains from the EPRP1, the earlier initiative. Mr. Speaker, these initiatives have been rolled out, and as our report captures on page 4, we see the many things that have been done and continues to be done under this facility.
However, Mr. Speaker, mass vaccination is needed to ensure that the gains we have made in addressing the pandemic are protected and that our populations are protected. Therefore, this facility, we were advised, is within the context that the number of individuals who had received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccination as of March 2021 is estimated at some 457,000 out of the target 17.5 million people. The pressing need to activate a robust COVID-19 vaccination program as well as strengthen the health system in Ghana has informed the restructuring of the interventions under the previous EPRP 1 and 2 projects funded by the World Bank, hence the need for this additional financing. So, Mr. Speaker, the project objective has been listed on page 6 under item 3.1 of your committee's report. The terms and conditions listed under paragraph 4 on page 7 of your committee's report, which, Mr. Speaker, takes us to the observations. But before that, it is important to indicate, Mr. Speaker, that this credit facility is a second additional financing. An emphasis has been placed on the restructuring of the component 1 of the project. The amount of 200 million will therefore be entirely dedicated to proposed initiatives clustered under component 1 of the project, as clearly stated in the report. Your committee's observations, Mr. Speaker, are seen under paragraph 6. And then under 6.4, we see the procurement of additional vaccines, which is the main point of this facility, which brings me to the conclusion, Mr. Speaker, that in view of the foregoing, we respectfully recommend to the House to adopt this report and approve by resolution the financing agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and the International Development Association for an amount of $200 million as additional financing for the Ghana COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Project in accordance with Article 181 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Ranking Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to second the motion. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me say that this particular loan, Mr. Speaker, we were told is of urgent nature, in the sense that, one, the IMF and the World Bank made available $200 million for us, and apparently this loan should have been approved as far back as last month. So, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, we've not been able to approve this loan. Mr. Speaker, I am only supporting this particular loan for one reason. The reason, Mr. Speaker, is that this loan will be used mainly for the purchases of vaccines. Mr. Speaker, we were told at the committee that out of the $200 million, an amount of $137.15 million will be used for the purposes of purchasing vaccines, coronavirus vaccines. We were told that this $137.15 million will be used to acquire vaccine that will be able to take care of the 21% of the population. The Speaker, Ghana's population is 31 million, approximately, according to the same World Bank. So, Mr. Speaker, 21% of 31 million will give you 6.5 million vaccines. Mr. Speaker, if you are to divide 6.1 million vaccines by the $137.15 million, it will mean that Ghana is purchasing these vaccines approximately $21 per vaccine. Mr. Speaker, that is why simple mathematics, Mr. Speaker, simple mathematics. Simple mathematics. Mr. Speaker, let me refer you to subcomponent 1.6, introduction of subcomponent 1.6, to procure COVID-19 vaccine for an additional 37% of the national target, meaning an additional 21% of the total population spending $137.15 million US. Mr. Speaker, this is clearly simple mathematics. So what we are saying is that we are going to spend $21 per vaccine. Mr. Speaker, I am not, what I'm trying to do here is to simply look at the basic mathematics and to find out. Mr. Speaker, if that is the case, Mr. Speaker, we asked the Minister of Health at the committee meeting to clarify this. He said to us that at this stage, he will not be able to give us any indication as to how much vaccine is going to cost. Because as we speak, he is still negotiating with countries, and he's not sure the price that Ghana is going to procure these vaccines. Mr. Speaker, I'm only cautioning that Ghana do not want to see or hear another Sputnik 5 issues. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are not ready to engage another middleman. Mr. Speaker, I know that the issues relating to vaccines now, we are using government to government, G to G, to procure vaccines. So I do not want to hear another Sputnik 5, where government of Ghana is procuring vaccines through a middleman. That cannot be the case, Mr. Speaker, from the black market. Mr. Speaker, that black market business must stop. It must stop. We need to engage governments directly and then be able to buy the vaccines for. Mr. Speaker, Ghana needs this vaccine, obviously. We need these vaccines. And we need the vaccines now. And so I will not be the one to prevent Ghana from acquiring these vaccines. We need the vaccines. So we will work and ensure that we get the vaccines. But, Mr. Speaker, there are legitimate concerns. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, about one year ago, the same Ministry of Health had appeared before us and has said that Parliament should approve for them to spend an amount of $136.86 million US, being emergency COVID-19 response budget. So, Speaker, all of us, collectively, without asking much questions, approve for them. Speaker, it is only right that when the same ministry is coming to ask for additional financing on the same loan, so Speaker, it is only right that they account, at the minimum, for the 136 million that we will approve for them. And Speaker, to surprise you to know that when we asked the Ministry of Health to give us a breakdown of what they have spent already, Mr. Speaker, I have a document before me, they only accounted for $8.9 million US. Mr. Speaker, we demand that the Minister of Health appear before us urgently to account for the amount that we have already approved. Mr. Speaker, clearly, if not the emergency nature of the country acquiring vaccines, Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't have supported this loan. On account that he has failed to account for the amount that we have already given to him. Mr. Speaker, I'll give you an example. Mr. Speaker, on the previous loan, Government of Ghana, working with Parliament, had approved for them to spend an amount of $9 million US for the purposes of supporting key interventions such as strengthening disease surveillance systems and point of entry, as well as public health laboratories. So, Speaker, for contract tracing and reporting, and we have budgeted $9 million. So, Speaker, the same ministry is asking us to apportion for them another $14.96 million without accounting for what we have already approved for them. So, Speaker, again, under subcomponent 1.2, initially, we approved for them $87.2 million US for the purposes of containment, isolation, and treatment. $87.2 million US. They've come again asking us to approve for them an amount of $40.8 million US. Speaker, how can we be approving money for the Ministry of Health without accounting for them? Mr. Speaker, they have to account for this amount. Because, Mr. Speaker, now, because of the emergency nature of the vaccine, we are going to approve this. Mr. Speaker, I urge you to rule that the minister responsible for health should come again and account for the loans that we approved for him already. Mr. Speaker, other than that, Mr. Speaker, I will come with a substantive motion to investigate some of this amount and to call for an accountability, Mr. Speaker, because time is now. The time is now for us to be asking for it. Mr. Speaker, earlier on we were told that an amount of 10.8 million Ghana cedis, US dollars, was budgeted for communication. Communication, 10.8 million US dollars. Now you are asking us to approve another 10.8 million US dollars for you. What sort of communication did you spend the 10.8 million that we already approved for you? Why are you not giving us breakdown of what you spent earlier? And now asking us to give you another money. Mr. Speaker, we will support this because we need the vaccines now. But going forward, loans of this nature, we will interrogate it line by line and to ensure that the people of this country get the accountability that they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member for Okankwe Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in support of the motion on the floor and refer my colleague from Ejumako Enyan to paragraph 4.0 on the financing terms. My colleague is a good friend and participated well at the committee level. The loan for 200 million United States dollars, the repayment period of 25 years, the grace period of another 5 years. I'm talking 30 years, Mr. Speaker. The terms very good in times of this pandemic, and I believe that my colleague believed in the facility and helped the committee to arrive at the conclusion at paragraph 7 for the House to approve this facility. Mr. Speaker, we looked at the circumstances surrounding this facility and how it's going to help this country, especially as itemized under paragraph 6.4 for the procurement of additional vaccines. The Speaker, you can read from the report that as at March 2021, it is estimated that 457,000 out of the targeted 17.5 million Ghanaians had been vaccinated. The Speaker, yesterday I was listening to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and about 33.6 million citizens of the United Kingdom have been vaccinated. The Speaker, it means that this country is running at a slow pace in terms of its vaccination program. The United Kingdom is reopening their country by the 19th of July. Ghana ought to take rapid measures to ensure that the economy is opened fully for other interested investors to be able to feel free to come into this country to transact business. The Speaker. So I am happy for a full inquiry into the procurement and expenditure framework that the Ministry of Health undertook with respect to the first facility that they took. It's welcoming. We must, as a House, be interested in how the facility was used in terms of procurement of vaccines and other related items. But I believe that the terms associated with these loans are very good, and this House must support it for us to be able to open up the economy fully. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak in support of the motion that this Honourable House approves the 200 million United States dollars as additional financing for the Ghana COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Project. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, to call for greater transparency and increased accountability in the management of overall COVID resources approved by government and spent by government ministries, departments, and agencies, that they should be ready to account for the usage of those monies. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I want to give a conditional support to this agreement. And Mr. Speaker, my conditional support is premised on, may I with respect refer you to page 4 of your committee's report. Expansion of diagnosis capacity from 2 to 19 laboratories. And Mr. Speaker, this is where my support is conditional. In 10 out of 16 regions. And Mr. Speaker, I will not support this until I have an elaborate program that takes care of the 6 regions that have been left out. Other than that, I will not support this motion. Why? Is COVID only known to 10 regions in Ghana? Why are you coming to only say 10 regions? You are expanding diagnostic and it's in the same 10 regions when you have 16 regions in the country. And first of all, Mr. Speaker, our committees must do diligent work. Which 6 regions have been left out? We need to know which 6 regions have been left out. And the 6 regions, Mr. Speaker, must necessarily be included as beneficiary regions for this fund. So I'm giving you conditional support. You cannot discriminate against 6 regions on a pandemic which is national in character and a pandemic which third variant may be national in this exercise. So why are you concentrating on 10 when you know Ghana is 16 regions? So, Mr. Speaker, when you go further, again, Mr. Speaker, the same page, 21 treatment centers are equipped to increase intensive care units, bed capacity from 44 to 129 in 10 regions. So it means tomorrow, if COVID strikes in the other 6 regions, they have no access to bed capacity, they have no access to intensive care unit, they are also deserving and they are Ghanaians. So I need a firm assurance that these 6 other regions will be included as beneficiaries as part of this 10 regions. Mr. Speaker, then further, I won't even travel outside page 4. Procurement and distribution of 3.6 million reusable face masks. How much did it cost the state? We need to know. It will interest Mr. Speaker to know that different ministries, different departments and agencies procured masks at different prices in the same Ghana. In the same Ghana. Some at unacceptable prices. That is why we believe people don't want to account for this money. Let's know, how much did you spend procuring a mask? What type of mask was it? How much did it cost the taxpayer? We don't know. Mr. Speaker, we are told again 4,500 infrared thermometers. How much did it cost? We need to know. Then, Mr. Speaker, when you come again, domestic industry through the procurement of 10 million face masks, 1 million liters of liquid. We need to know. Persons with disabilities. So, Mr. Speaker, you know the Honorable Patrick Buama, he is playing to the rule and the law. Our mandate is Article 181. We should look at the terms of the loan. And to quote his words, when you look at the terms of the loan, they are favorable. Yes, they are favorable. But account for what you have already taken. Rapid credit facility, 1.61 billion US. We need accountability how it was spent. Stabilization fund, we took 1.2 billion. We need to know how it was spent. World Bank, 100 million US. We need to know how it was spent. Then, Mr. Speaker, I conclude with COVID-19 National Trust Fund. How have they fared? How have the money been spent? What is left? What have they done with the resources? We saw public institutions dancing with alacrity to go and do donations. We need to know how the monies were utilized. We need to know. That is captured in page 5, Mr. Speaker, of your report. You just give a wholesale thing, 1.2 billion. Then, Mr. Speaker, my conclusion, and Mr. Speaker, very significant for you. This is within the page 5. This is within the context that the number of individuals who have received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccination in Ghana as at March 2021 is estimated at 457,000 of a targeted population of 17.5 million. So what are you celebrating? You have not even been able to hit a 1 million mark of a population of 30 million and more and counting. That is not good enough. With all these resources, 1 billion US dollars, additional 1.2 billion Ghana cedis, additional 100 million US dollars, and you are coming for additional 200 million US dollars. Yet you have not been able to cover just 3% of the population. 3. I can even reduce it to 2% of the population. You have not been able. So with all these resources, you have not been able to cover 3% of Ghana's population, having taken 1 billion United States dollars from the World Bank, having taken money from the stabilization fund. So what did we achieve? What did we achieve? So, Mr. Speaker, this is the committee's report. It's not my words. They said close of 19 vaccination in Ghana as at March 2021 is estimated at 457,000. So, Mr. Speaker, much work needs to be done. But arguably, the terms of the loan are pretty good enough for a country which is in debt distress. For a country which is in debt distress, to go in for, to strengthen our coordination, our preparedness. But Mr. Speaker, I am totally unhappy that 6 regions have been left out of this facility. That is not acceptable. The strategy of government, if it concentrates only on 6 regions, is wrong, and we would need to work to improve it. Mr. Speaker, now, the Honorable Ranking Member for Finance referred you to page 8 of your committee's report. Introduction of subcomponent 1.6 versus 137.15 million. Where are you getting the vaccines from? We need to know. Is it going to be government to government or private sector or middlemen as he raised? Then securing primary care essential services, 25.6 million. Then you have what he referred to as communication. Why do you want to spend that huge sum of money on communication? Then on contract tracing, you that you are only in 10 regions, not 16 regions, you want 14.9 million for purposes of case detection. Mr. Speaker, they are charging people at the airport for it. So why? So, Mr. Speaker, page 7, subcomponent 1, case detection. Case detection is testing. So, people are already paying at the airport. So, what are you taking this money from? Because there is that's how you can detect cases. When you conduct a test, which conduct is not free. People pay for it. Yet you are taking 14.9 million to scale up matters of case detection, confirmation, contact tracing, recording, and reporting. Double counting. That is not good enough. So, Mr. Speaker, generally the terms of the loan are good. But I am dissatisfied that it is only focusing on 10 out of the 6 regions of Ghana. And my wish is that we stand this down for the Minister for Finance and Health to come and give us indication how this will cover the 6 additional regions. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Chairman.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to correct an error before our leadership comes in. Mr. Speaker, it's in respect of the cost of the vaccine. We did ask the officials from the Ministry of Health what the figure is, and they did state, and I repeat it here for the records, that a vaccine would cost $10.55. $10.55. This was information communicated to the committee. It is captured indeed under paragraph 6.4 of the budget. What I remember the committee wanted to know was that at 10.55 per vaccine, the 200 million should get for us more than the 7.6 million that the facility we were told was going to vaccinate. And it was on that even the ministry said they would revert to us with figures to indicate that. But I think the Minister for Health was very clear that the vaccine will be $10.55 US. I guess it's important information that the House would want to take note of. And then quickly, the point has been made that all the money that have been collected in the past in the name of fighting COVID, in spite of all that, we have been able to do something around 2%. Mr. Speaker, I think it is fair to clear this, that as far as I can recall, all the communication that has come to this House from the Ministry of Finance in respect of COVID expenditures have been far more than vaccines. In fact, it was just in the last budget that a small amount was committed to the procurement of vaccines. The rest of the expenditure that the minority leader referred to have been used to finance other expenditures necessary for the fight against COVID-19. It's important that we take note of this. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Champon, do you want to say something?
Mr. Speaker, I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yes,
okay, yes. Honorable Majority Deputy.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to add my voice on the issue before us, which issue is to approve additional 200 million for the purposes of COVID-19 emergency preparedness and response project. Mr. Speaker, in the submission of the Honorable Minority Leader, he expressed concern about the supposed discrimination in the utilization of the funds. He further specified in his argument that why 10 out of 16, why have other regions been taken out? But Mr. Speaker, upon a careful reading of the report, I take this opportunity to add my voice to disagree strongly with him. And in so doing, and for emphasis, I shall refer to page 3 of the report as well as page 4, which he himself relied on. Mr. Speaker, paragraph 3 of the report talks about background. And the last paragraph of the same paragraph reads, I quote, "The government of Ghana rolled out the EPRP-2 with additional financing of 130 million from the World Bank Group to strengthen and scale up the gains from EPRP-1. That additional financing was approved on the 12th November 2020. Together, the financing of EPRP-1 and 2 have facilitated the implementation of the COVID-19 containment interventions through Mr. Speaker, the success story is what has been outlined at page 4. So, just to draw the attention of Honorable Minority Leader, it is not the purpose for which this facility is being procured has been well spelled out on pages 7, 8, and 9. And for emphasis, Mr. Speaker, they've given us a breakdown. So if he talks about getting detailed reports upon implementation, that is within his rights. And of course, this is a house that does monitoring, oversight. So it's within his right as a member of parliament. But to contend that the government is limiting this facility to 10 out of 16, I beg to disagree with him, and I base my disagreement on fact. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I wouldn't belabor, because I don't want to add to the superfluity of what has already been said. Safe to say that I am happy that as a House, we are considering the report of your committee that did this work and has come out with one voice, consensus. And Honorable Atufosin himself, in his argument, strongly echoed the fact that we are not in normal times. This is an emergency situation, and I agree with him, and there's a need for all of us to support. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, I pray this House to approve this report for the ministry to take advantage of this facility with very good terms, so that we would further get the country moving out of this COVID situation we find ourselves. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I shall thank you so much for the opportunity.
Honorable members. Yes, leader.
Speaker, you may put the question, but for the record, as I read this report, I'm unable to make a determination which 10 regions have benefited or will benefit from this facility, and I'm unable further to make a determination which 6 regions out of Ghana may potentially be left out and not benefit from this. I've read the report in its entirety, from the first paragraph to the last. I just want it for the record before you put the question. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I think we are on the same page, except the language and approach. Mr. Speaker, my disagreement is basically that the background, the 130 million, it's the 130 million that refers to the 10 out of 6 regions. This particular facility, you are arguing that this facility, one of the purpose is to do this diagnostic capacity expansion in 10 out of 16. That I disagree, because I'm saying that this was in respect of the 130 million facility under EPRP 1 and 2. So it is the background information. But the purpose of this facility is on a different page. So I'm only telling you, Honorable Minority Leader, you know I so much respect your views. But where there is a disagreement, I need to point out so that we all move on happily. So that's all the point I want to make. Well, we are passing, but we need to put the things right in proper perspective. This disagreeing does not mean that I'm opposed to your submission. I have disagreed. Please. Mr. Speaker, thank you. We'll clap.
Very well. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, as many as are in favor of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. Yes, Honorable Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on same page, resolution 19 on page 14. Resolution.
Yes, Honorable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution captured as item 19 on pages 14 and 15 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Leader.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, As many as are in favor of the resolution, say aye. Those against the resolution, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Yes. Majority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, on the order paper, addendum 2, 1, motion.
Honourable, come again. I didn't get you.
Addendum 2, order paper. 1, motion.
Okay. So on the addendum paper, addendum 2, motion 1, procedural motion. Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that motion number 1 on today's order paper addendum 2 be taken now. I so moved.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the front bench of the minority does not appear to have addendum 2. We don't have it. It's where?
Yes, table. Table, please make them available to honourable members. Yes, Honourable Oyumi, you can now second the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Honourable members, this procedural motion. As many as are in favour of the motion, say aye. Those against the motion, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Yes. Now we may move the motion 2.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that motion number 2 on today's order paper addendum 2 be taken. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I'll present your committee's report. I'll ask the Hazard Department to capture the entire report as having been read, whilst I take some few excerpts of the report. Background to the agreement. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has hosted continental sports events in football, but never the prestigious African Games, since its inception in 1965. Indeed, Ghana previously enjoyed an enviable place as a sporting nation in all major international games and tournaments, but the last 2 decades have seen a decline in our standards. Mr. Speaker, the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, that is in Australia 2018, where the country won only 1 bronze medal in boxing, and the 2019 Morocco African Games, where Ghana placed 15 among 54 participating countries, are cases in point. The hosting and organization of the 2023 African Games can therefore be seen as the game changer, which will motivate and create new dynamics for unearthing, developing, and sustaining talents to improve the future of sports in Ghana. On financial impact, Mr. Speaker, there is an expected revenue of $154,500,000 United States dollars emanating from the proceeds related to the games and from sponsorship. Even though the expenditure far exceeds the estimated revenue, the non-monetary value of associated benefits far outweighs the cost. In addition, Mr. Speaker, Ghana will become the 2nd country in the whole of Africa to have a sports university, which will attract students from all over Africa in the presence of Olympics.
Honourable Chairman, I believe almost every member has a copy of the report.
In conclusion,
so just jump into the conclusion.
In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, honourable members, after exhaustively scrutinizing all documents and clarifying all issues related thereto, commend the Ministry of Youth and Sports for consulting all relevant stakeholders and working closely with the Attorney General's Department, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the LOC in arriving at this comprehensive protocol agreement. In conclusion, therefore, the committee recommends that this House ratifies by resolution the protocol agreement between the African Union and the Government of the Republic of Ghana on the material and technical organization of the 13th edition of the African Games 2023 in Accra, Ghana, to enable Ghana host and organize the African Games and reap all the benefits thereof. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the country won the bid to organize and host the African Games 2023, and in that, it had three options to organize this event, and that had to do with one, either to go solo to organize the event, put all the logistical operation and everything together, or try to go into joint organization with a neighboring country such as Togo, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, or cede it to a private sector operator to organize on behalf of government. Government chose to go with the first option. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to share a portion of the report on page 2, the last paragraph, and I read, in adopting the first option, Ghana considered three alternatives for the provision of the infrastructure for the Games. And that also is divided into three. The first alternative was to construct an entirely new stadium of Olympic standard. And the second alternative was the refurbishment of existing facilities across the country to Olympic standard. And the third was the hybrid model of completing the ongoing Legon Sports Stadium, renovating the hostel facilities in Legon, and constructing key facilities in Boteman. Mr. Speaker, whilst at it, I would want to look at the marketing aspect, the legal framework contained in the protocol, which your committee looked at and had issues with. However, would want to encourage the minister, in the course of further deliberation, is able to get something to, as it were, reduce the losses, possibly, and to increase the profitability of the venture. And so a little look at Article 7 tells us that, as rightly indicated by the chairman, I would want to urge the minister to be able to come out quickly with a comprehensive assessment of the event, a complete cash flow, and to be able to look at the profitability of the entire event and how we'll be able to break even and make profits, and the strategy with regards to the sponsors that, in conjunction with the AU Sports Commission, we'll be able to get, so that we'll be able to get the necessary revenue coming in. And I want to use this opportunity to also congratulate the LOC. I think they were able to show that they've been able to negotiate to reduce certain fees and certain revenues which would have gone to the AU Commission of Sports. But I think the ratio, even not too good, but I think it's something that we can say is better than nothing. And so, Mr. Speaker, on this note, I urge the entire House to approve the resolution so that we can get going quickly to have the 2023 happen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Nee, member for Tema Central. Is this Tema Central?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to the motion on the floor. Mr. Speaker, perusing through the agreement, the background stipulates that Ghana
Sports in general plays a big role in our socio-economic development and our political lives as a people. It brings us together physically, mentally, socially, and also our moral development. Mr. Speaker, I want to jump to the financial impact. It seems that we are spending almost close to 222 million on the games and raking in a revenue of about 154 million. Mr. Speaker, that's a shortfall of about 67 million United States dollars. But, Mr. Speaker, there are other ancillary benefits that we gain out of sports and, most importantly, this African Games that we hope to host. Mr. Speaker, there are tourism opportunities, there are long-term legacy opportunities for infrastructure development in sports, foreign direct investments, and then even tourism after the Games. Mr. Speaker, there are also intangible benefits, such as a feel-good effect that we get, and also the civic pride that we get out of hosting these Games. Mr. Speaker, looking at Article 8, revenue sharing of the Games, Mr. Speaker, the LOC was able to negotiate with the African Union to reduce our initial payments from $2.5 million to $1.8 million, and then also negotiated for the broadcasting rights, for which Ghana is taking 100%, and then also the exploitation of marks, for which Ghana is getting 45%. Mr. Speaker, the agreement is the foundation on which all the other commercial agreements will be built. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I urge the House to adopt, to ratify by resolution the protocol agreement between the African Union and the government of Ghana on the materials and technical organization of the 13th edition of the African Games to be held in Accra. Thank you.
Honorable members. Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this motion. But, Mr. Speaker, I have these few comments to make. Mr. Speaker, we just passed an agreement to borrow money to pay for LEAP, NHIS, capitation, school feeding. Mr. Speaker, is this the best time to embark on a project that you have already said in this document that you know you are going to make a loss? Whilst we accept the fact that sports is an investment and can have greater returns, you have already said in this document that we are going to spend about $220 million and we will get $150 million. So you know that it's a loss-making venture. The question is this the best time to attempt to host this? I'm not saying it's not good, but is it the best time that government makes this determination? Secondly, Mr. Speaker, on page 2 of the report, Mr. Speaker, the committee is saying that the government is adopting option 3, which is the hybrid option. But, Mr. Speaker, if you come to page 3, and I go to financial impact, paragraph, the first paragraph under 4, you are saying that you are coming to construct the construction of new stadia and related expenses. So that part of the report needed to be corrected, because under the option 3, you are not building any new stadium. You are saying you are going to complete Lagos Stadium. So your report is inappropriate. I mean, you need to reconcile the 2 pages. But, Mr. Speaker, my concern, and I have to say this, I fear that though this is noble, if we invest after the games, these facilities become ours. Globally, we are told that in recent times, games that have been hosted by countries, almost all of them have made losses. Do we have enough money to spend $200 million to get $50 million, $150 million after that? The minister will eventually have to convince us as to how he intends to mitigate this
colossal losses that we are making at the time that we needed money, even to fund school feeding, capitation, NHIs, and other things. Mr. Speaker, I feel it will be wrong to oppose this on the fact that sports does bring in a lot of young people in this country can go through this and become somebody. But the financial proposal put forward by government is extremely defective. And I encourage the Minister of Youth and Sports to probably do a better job by coming back to the House to convince members as to how he intends to mitigate this and possibly make profit out of it. Mr. Speaker, with this few words, I thank you for the opportunity.
Honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is, as many as are in favour of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby adopted. Yes, Honourable Leader.
Item 3, resolution. On the, it's okay.
Thank you,
Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Do you want to say something? Oh, okay. You can move the resolution now.
I rise to move that the resolution number 3 on page 2 on the addendum 2 be adopted by this August House. Mr. Speaker, I so move. Thank you so much.
Speaker,
Yes, Honourable.
I second it.
Honourable members, the resolution is moved and accepted. All those in favour of the resolution say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, the resolution is carried. Yes, leadership.
Mr. Speaker, there be no further competent business for the day. We are entirely in your hands. Mr. Speaker, there be no further business for the day. We are entirely in your hands.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, as he said, we are in your hands.
Honourable members, time. Two.
Mr. Speaker,
Yeah. Honourable leadership. You came here at 2 o'clock.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
And it's
Mr.
not
Speaker,
yet 6, so I think we have to
yes.
move a motion.
Mr. Speaker, that is correct.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that is correct. So, Mr. Speaker, I accordingly beg to move that this House be adjourned till tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
It's at 2 p.m.
I want to make this comment. Mr. Speaker, we are told, Speaker has already ruled on this, that when we start at 2, it will give opportunities to our colleagues who are ministers and members to appear on time. Mr. Speaker, I'm here to record any day that we started work at 2 o'clock. I'm just urging members, if we say we are coming at 2, let's come at 2. Otherwise, it is not fair to those of us who are turn up at 2 o'clock. So if you propose that we come at 2, yourself and everybody else must be here at 2 o'clock. Thank you. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I support the leader.
Well. Honourable members, the motion has been moved and has been seconded. So the question is, all those in favour of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honourable members, the motion, the ayes have it. The motion is accordingly adopted. This House is therefore adjourned to tomorrow, Wednesday, the 7th July, 2021, at 2 p.m. And I repeat, 2 p.m. The House stands adjourned.